Yes, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Akhi, wherever you want to add something, please add. If you feel like it, you tell me. You can say a few things.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So today is a Foundation Day talk, and Shivangi or anyone or Jeslu, you can record it. Please record it here. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I've started recording.
Oh, wonderful. So welcome to a very free day, which is a Foundation Day talk. This is fun class. There's nothing serious about it. In fact, no class is serious, but every class is serious. But again, no single class is serious because the moment we become very serious, we spoil a class. You know. So we have to just enjoy what we are discussing, and it cannot be done by force. So today we are just going to have a little browse of Indian knowledge systems as a whole, as a whole. And for Shivangi Di and Jeslu and others, maybe 2-3 slides will be repetition. Otherwise, other slides are quite new, fairly new. Yeah. But for others, I think everybody will enjoy. So, but whatever we discuss today, it's like the tip of the iceberg. An iceberg floats in the North Sea or in the upper Atlantic or in the lower Atlantic, and we just see the tip of the iceberg. But by looking at the tip of the iceberg, we don't have much idea about the entire iceberg. I mean, that is so much of a truth in the movie that was made by James Cameron, the Titanic. I think his second movie, he made a small movie before that, his first mega movie. Then he made the third movie, which is Avatar, Avatar. So the tip of the iceberg is what we are going to do today. We cannot cover a huge ocean of knowledge systems, but I'm going to share something which will give you an idea that why exactly we are hankering for Indian knowledge systems, why there is a need of Indian knowledge systems in our life, what is the input of Indian knowledge systems in our life, and how much of Indian knowledge system should actually come into our life, and that is about how and the other questions. So this entire presentation, all of you guys, is roughly not divided, but it's in a flow of about 3 parts. So there are about 8 slides in the first part. There are about 12, 13 slides in the second part. And the last part, I think I have about 13, 14 slides. And you'll enjoy the last part because it has a lot of recent contemporary history about justification. I mean, how Indian knowledge system is slowly getting accepted. For example, if you talk about Sanskrit as a language, not as an ancient language, but as a modern language, there are about 26 universities in Germany which are teaching Sanskrit, and German teachers are being called all over the world because they're masters, and Sanskrit has been accepted by computer language systems as a natural language processing thing, NLP. So I'll discuss a little bit about that later if I get some time, and you can check NLP. NLP is the way computer can use a language coding to become cross interpreters and say one thing in another form and things like that. So as I told you, Sanskrit is the only language in the world which has the highest, the maximum and the most complex, yet the most simple system of 49 vowels and alphabets. No other language, not even Greek, Latin or Pali or Brahmi, others have this huge system. So people like Max Muller to William C. Jones to Nobel laureate Bertrand Russell, to many people, to someone like Padma Shri Michel Danino of the French Institute of Pondicherry, who is a visiting lecturer in IIT Gandhinagar, and I'll try to get him one day as a visiting speaker. He's an excellent man on archaeology, and he got his Padma Shri just 2 years back. He's a systems archaeologist. Have really appreciated the role of Sanskrit. So okay, so I think we are digressing. Let's come down to the Foundation Day talk. Why I called it Foundation Day talk? There's no big reason for it because today is Foundation Day, and today we are just going to talk about the features and discussions. So about Sanskrit, we have certain ideas, as I told you. So there's always an old version and an older version and a new version and a newer version. So the oldest version of Sanskrit is not in North India, but it's actually in the south. So most of the Dravidian forms of language like Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu and others, mostly Tamil and Malayalam, they are very ancient forms of Sanskrit, believe it or not, believe it or not. I mean, this whole idea of saying that south of India belongs to another genre of language has been proved to be wrong right now. In fact, the North Indian language system of Sanskrit is a much later. It's not more than 4,000 or 4,500 years old. Anyway, so that's a little digression. So coming back to the presentation today, it's a foundation day because we are using the foundation day of our institute, the 71st foundation day, because IIT Kharagpur was born on 18th of August after India became important, and the first system of Indian Institute of Technology was built in a concentration camp or a detention camp where Indians were killed, and it is this place at Kharagpur where Gurudev Rabindranath Thakur came once to protest. Then on the day Santosh Kumar Mitro and Tarukeshwar Sengupta were assassinated, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose came the very next day early in the morning. And then after a few years, Mahatma Gandhiji also came. Mahatma Gandhiji also came as a thing. So in this detention camp, there's a huge history of martyrdom. There are people who gave their lives for this nation. So there is a touch of blood. There is a touch of blood on the soil and on the basis. And it is on this the edifice of IIT Kharagpur has come up. So it's like a temple. This is not a Hindu temple or a Christian church or a Mohammedan mosque, but this is a temple of learning. So in this temple, people have given their lives. So whatever we have done in IIT Kharagpur is actually based on these sacrifices. And I think there's a beautiful history which says the first scientist came from MIT, that is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And if any of you ever get a chance to go to MIT, I got one chance to visit Cambridge, New Cambridge. Cambridge is in UK. New Cambridge is in Boston on the other side of Charles River. So MIT and Harvard, like Oxford and Cambridge, had come up, and MIT scientists came to IIT Kharagpur to design IIT Kharagpur. So that's why in IIT we have the MIT corridor. When you come to IIT Kharagpur, you'll see that corridor. And in MIT we have the IIT corridor. Now this is something which is very, very interesting, very, very interesting. And then within a year, a huge pool of scientists came from the University of Illinois, Urbana, Urbana-Champaign, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. So right at the beginning of India's independence and its surge for freedom of expression, on the one hand, we faced a lot of enmity from the British, but on the other hand, there are a lot of good British scholars and American scientists and good friends of India. They came to India to help a lending hand for India to develop. So not every story is absolutely black, not every story is absolutely white. So that's why we need to be scientific. So in India, the history that we also inherit, not everything is white. There's also a lot of black things. So our course on Indian knowledge system is to scientifically choose that what are the best things of all the systems in the world, which sort of conforms to the knowledge that comes from the ancient times, and probably they are viable in the modern times. So the next 30 plus slides are going to be about that. So why Indian knowledge systems? So this is for a few people who are not present last class. This is the whole team. I am Joy Sen from the Department of Architecture. I did my B.Arch from IIT Kharagpur. I did my master's from Iowa State, and then I was in industry for about 11 years. I came back to academics and did my PhD, and today I'm a professor in the Department of Architecture and Regional Planning. Our very Dean of Architecture and Engineering, Professor Desai, Engineering and Architecture, is our lead teacher, followed by Professor N.C. Naik, a great economist, and Professor Pulak Mishra, the third picture. They are going to talk about Arthashastra, behavioral and welfare economics, a kind of economics that's taught at MIT and Oxford right now, based on the works of Amartya Sen, Abhijit Binayak, Bandyopadhyay, and Jose Stiglitz. And then we have Shankar Pratim Bhattacharya. Today he has faced a little bit of problem, I'll tell you later. So he's going to take you along with Brajesh Dubey, who who is in the US right now. And the blue shirt is Professor Brajesh Dubey and the green shirt is Professor Shankarpratim Bhattacharya. They're going to take you through structural sciences, Nirman, Vidya, and environmental sciences, a very interesting portion of sciences which is on environment, public health, biotechnology, biomes, bioculture. So we're going to touch a little bit about biology and environmental and ecological sciences here, a little bit, not everything. And then we have Akidi, Dr. Aki Banerjee. Akidi worked with me for her PhD. She's a wonderfully brilliant student. She's into urban economics and she's a planner. She's also an architect and she's one of the esteemed faculties of the Ranbir and Chitragupta School of Infrastructure Design and Management. And the last Khopri is of mine, which is Joyson. So you can see me there. So this is the whole team. So every day from next week, we are going to have classes from 5:15 till about 7:15, 7:30. If the class is nice, we'll go about 7:45 or 8 o'clock. It all depends on the teacher and your mood and on the circumstances and the availability of the internet. Okay, thank you so much. So I just wanted to repeat it because some of you have missed. So there's some new students, new youngsters, wonderful people who have joined us who are not there last Wednesday. So a very warm welcome on behalf of IIT Kharagpur and the Little Center of Excellence for Indian Knowledge Systems. Okay, so why Indian knowledge systems? Because we have a crisis in civilization. And this was the last book written by Rabindranath Tagore. And there's a wonderful book written by the physicist of the University of Berkeley, who is very famous for the other book, which is the Tao of Physics, The Turning Point, Fritjof Capra of University of Berkeley, California. And then there is another book, a very famous book. This was a textbook of ours when I was doing my master's at Iowa State University in the US. That is Oswald Spengler. That is called The Decline of the West. For the last 150 years to 200 years, the East has been mostly following Western science. And there's a lot of wonderful things in Western science, fantastic things, rocket science, robotic science, algorithm science, biosciences, computer sciences, electromechanical sciences, mechanical engineering sciences, and so on, ecological sciences. But what has happened, there is one problem which I'll explain later. The Western sciences has always taken a view which was portrayed by three great thinkers. One was René Descartes, another was Francis Bacon, and the other was Sigmund Freud, who taught most of the scientists around the world to look at things in bits and pieces. You have to look at things in bits and pieces, but you also have to look at the whole view. You can look at that light blue square. Can everybody see my slide? I just wanted to check. Can everybody see my slide? Yes, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So you can look at the light blue square, which could be physics. You can look at the middle blue square, which could be chemistry. You can look at the dark blue square, which is biology, and you can look at the green square, which is environmental sciences. Now, somebody will say, why should we have it together? You're absolutely right. We should not have it together. But there should be some understanding that a physics equation which is used in a machine could be using a paraffin or a hydrochloric acid or a sulfurous acid, which has a chemical component. And that component, when it's used by human beings, has a human or a biological component. And when you use it for long, for example, sulfuric acid, when we use it in leather industries, that may have an environmental component. So though we are seeing knowledge in isolation, but the collective use of this knowledge cannot be only satisfied by the reductionist view. Cannot be only satisfied by the reductionist view. Yeah. Beach may, I'll have some tea if you don't mind, and you all can have your tea and coffee wherever you are, because this is fun class. And every class you can have a sip of a cup of tea and you can talk to me or Akidi or Professor Dubey, because everything should be natural. So this reductionist view in the last 150 to 250 years, it has done two things. On the one hand, it has progressed civilization. We have progressed in science and technology enormously. Today with technology, we have reached the moon. We are heading for Mars. We can solve a lot of disease. We have tremendous networking situation. Everything is fine. But at the four levels, which is socio-cultural, climatic, geopolitical, and economic. We have huge imbalances. And today, if you look at the world, you know what these imbalances are. And the next 4 slides are on these imbalances. So if I go to the next 4 slides, it's pretty clear. So these 4 books written by Tagore, Capra, and Spengler had warned us about these imbalances about 80 years back, 30 years back, and about 70 years back. So these are books not written by us, but by very, very important people. Okay, fine. So the first problem is economic aspects, which is the imbalance between demand and supply. And what is demand and supply? I want a glass of water. I want to have a cup of tea. I'm just having a sip in my cup of tea, and my wife just provided me with a cup of tea. So I demanded tea. She supplied me tea. You want to hear something, and I'm speaking. I mean, I want to hear something, you are speaking. The little sabji wala in the market wants to earn some money, so he's selling vegetables. So there's a demand for vegetables, but in return he's getting some money, and the purchaser is getting some vegetables, through which he'll probably make a veg soup in the evening. So our entire life is based on demand and supply. But because of a one-track progress of civilization, the rich man is getting richer and the poor man is becoming poorer. I think everyone in the class is understanding what I'm saying. And today, because of the COVID-19 situations and others, because of the liquidity situation, the inflation, and the drop in the currency power, there are a lot of countries in the world right now. For example, Lebanon, for example, to an extent Turkey, and to an extent Greece, and a lot of Latin American countries like Brazil and others, they're almost on the edge of bankruptcy. Very bad situation. Look at Afghanistan. I think I'll discuss that in the next slide. So this is a book by Jose Stiglitz. It's called The Price of Inequality. And my first research scholar, I did not know anything about this book, but my first research scholar, Dr. Kia Chakraborty, she did a work on this. She's working with an NGO with the Indian Institute of Science, Indian Institute of Human Settlements, Bangalore, which is again working with Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. So she has worked with this. So about 0.5% has 40% access to global wealth compared to the remaining 95% to just 30%. So this is an imbalance. So even if you have a lot of machine progress, technological progress, technical power alone cannot solve the situation. You need a technical humane power. You need both. I mean, that's what I feel. Many of you may feel, many of you may not. But today there is no argument. We are just sharing some ideas. And as I told you, this is a tip of the iceberg. The second problem is geopolitical. And how many of you have seen this movie, Charlie Wilson's War, or Beyond Enemy Lines? Acted by Owen Wilson and Academy Award winner Gene Hackman. Anyone in the class has seen these 2 movies? This is Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts. Anyone? Anyone in the class? Jeslu?
No, sir.
No, sir, I have not seen.
Yeah, I think you should see movies, Jeslu. Just not do computer coding. Yeah, see some movies, Yeah, movies are wonderful media. My brother-in-law is a movie maker. He's just in my home right now. So movies are very important, and I watch movies. Very recently I'm not watching movies, but in my younger days I used to watch at least 3 to 4 movies a month, because you didn't have the TV. You have to go to a movie hall to actually watch a movie. So Charlie Wilson's War was a movie which was made about 6 or 7 years back, and it is on the Afghan war. So after Soviet Union left Afghanistan in the late 1970s, the next day United States left, and Afghanistan was converted into a terrorist camp. It was converted into fundamentalism, and then there was a further chaos with the Shah of Iran, and another 10 years passed, and then we had the Balkan War. Everybody knows about Balkan War, Bosnian War, Herzegovina, Serbian War. Is there anyone in the class who has heard about it? I'm sure a few of you has heard about it. Bosnian War? Come on, 1995, 96. Yeah, probably before you're born. There are about 7 million people. There are about 7 million people who are killed in Eastern Europe, because of ethnic cleansing. And that's shown in Behind Enemy Lines, Owen Wilson and Gene Hackman. So these are movies, which are on these facts. And then the US came again with NATO and everything. And today here you are. So this is a story from 1970, 30 years on the other side and 21 years on this side. 51 years of superpower handling the destiny of the country, and then you replace Taliban with Taliban. Yeah. And today you cannot blame Taliban because they're the only people who can sort of take over Afghanistan. So there was a Kabliwala who used to come to Kolkata to sell akhrot and kishmish and kaju and all that. Today a Kabliwala does not exist because his son and his grandson can only pick up an AK-47 and be a terrorist. Are you getting me? Class, are you getting me what I'm saying? Because the cashew industry, the poppy industry, the carpet industry, the weaving industry of Afghanistan is all wiped out. The entire country has been converted to a terrorist country. So who is responsible? And today Afghanistan is in a total mess. So the whole world is in a mess. Belarus is in a mess. The Balkan area is in a mess. Latin America is in a mess. I mean, Rohingya is in a mess. Bangladesh, Myanmar is in a mess. So there are hundreds of pockets in the world which are in a mess. Am I right, Aki, or am I wrong? Akidi? Yeah. Okay. Maybe she has gone somewhere. Okay, that's fine. So am I right, Shivangi? Am I right, Rohit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to say yes always, but I think I'm fairly right. Because this is, if you watch the BBC and everything. So this is where there's a huge problem. The third problem is climatic. So look at the disaster, the floods, the forest fire. There are about 16 forest fires all over the world, and the global ice cap is melting. And this is what Al Gore said. And this is the inconvenient truth, a movie that he made about 30 years back, and people laughed at him. And today we cannot laugh at him. And today we are paying the price of environmental and ecological disaster. And the fourth and the last, I'm going a little fast, is the socio-cultural disaster, which is the lifestyle disorders, LSDs, lifestyle disorders. And there's a cultural shock. The social media is skewed, and there's an ability which we have lost. I mean, there are people who are dying in a neighborhood, and the next door neighbor does not know till the dead body is taken out. These are facts in cities like Kolkata or Bangalore or in Delhi. Jestu, am I right? I don't know whether I'm right. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is a situation of progress and civilization, so-called civil society. I think in a small town where Jeslu is living, the connections and the livability and the neighborhood networking is much stronger, isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it?
Yes,
Isn't
it's
it?
yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
good.
sir.
I'm not saying it's great, but it's good. So that doesn't mean we should not have progress, but we should have a best of both the worlds. We should have the analog world, and we should also have the digital world, and we should have other options. So these imbalances have created a huge problem, and most of our life has just remained within the physiological needs. And this is Maslow's, and the only concern is safety, security, employment, resources. We are not able to go beyond that to a higher level. So this is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a very, very important concept. Maslow was the disciple of a friend of Sigmund Freud. He was Carl Gustav Jung, C.S. Jung. I think some of you have heard his name. So Maslow said that it is not the body which controls the mind, it is the mind, the quality of the mind which controls the body. So a person who is a dacoit today, who is a dashu today, who is a Ratnakar today, he can become a poet tomorrow. He can become a Balmiki tomorrow. So the man of war can be a man of peace tomorrow. That's Tolstoy's War and Peace. So everything is based on transformation. So you move from the physiological to the safety, and then you understand what is friendship, what is family. And the family may not just mean your family, but others. And then only you understand respect and self-esteem. So this is the cultural appetite which is missing in the society today. So if I may give you a lot of lectures, but at the end of the day, if I don't like you, if I don't love you, if I don't care for you, then all my lectures are futile. Isn't it true, Rohit? Rohit, isn't it true? Yeah. Rohit ji or Jay, am I right? Zaren?
I have
Yes,
a
sir.
question, if
Yes.
you don't mind.
Okay.
Yes.
Sir, over the history of civilizations that we have
Yes.
read or heard, a civilization always has a rise and a fall. So,
Yes.
and a few thousand years later, again it rises. Something
Yeah,
comes up,
that that
something
that
comes down.
that discussion will have. Now we are discussing linearly, not non-linearly. That discussion
Yes.
we'll have later. Because if we open up that chapter, we'll make it a little complex. We are looking
Sir,
at time T. We are
in
looking at time.
relation in relation to what you are saying, sir, currently you expressed four types of drawbacks that we are actually
Yeah,
facing,
yeah,
these social
yeah.
issues. Irrespective of whatever we ever plan, these issues keep arising globally again and again, sir. What would
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to say
because we have
about
not
it?
taken care of it. And whenever it's taken care, it was taken care of in Greece at one point of time. And that's why Greece reached a Periclean age. I think you know that. You know,
Yes, sir.
these four issues, it was taken care in India at a certain point of time, between the age of the Rishis, Upanishads, and till the times early. And then there was a huge gap, and then there was a huge gap, and then Buddha came as a reformer. And so the times before Buddha went into a dark age, and then again Buddha and Mahavira. So that is the point that you are saying. We are not getting into that. We are looking at time T. So we'll just keep the questions towards the end. Otherwise, we'll take up a lot of time. But that was a very good pointer by Zarin, who is from the Department of Architecture. So this is what Maslow is saying. And so what happens is that in the process of our progress of science and technology, we have mostly used the external laboratory, machines, schools, institutes, and everything. And for some reason, we have missed out the inner laboratory of the human mind. And this is what, can somebody tell me who are there in this picture on the top right? Can you identify any two people? They're very famous. Anybody in the class?
So
The
one
two
is
great,
Hitler.
one is
Hitler. Adolf Hitler.
no, 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 no. And he looks like Hitler, but he's not his Hitler.
Okay, sir.
No, but he's close. He's not Hitler.
Sir, one is Niels Bohr.
One is Niels Bohr. Who is that?
Sir, Animesh.
Oh, please unmute yourself and give a big hand to Animesh. Yeah, so the person on the lowest on the right is great physicist Niels Bohr. And who is the person in the middle? Can anybody identify? He was one of the best younger friends of Niels Bohr.
Oppenheimer.
Another good friend of Oppenheimer also. He is Werner
Heisenberg.
Heisenberg.
Oh yeah.
This is a young picture. Mostly you see a more older picture of Heisenberg. So this is Werner Heisenberg, the father of uncertainty principle and one of the fathers of quantum physicists. So Niels Bohr and Heisenberg came together, and they partly agreed with Einstein and partly disagreed with Einstein. Hello. Yeah. So they said that the modern physics needs a change, and the change is that the scientist, in addition to experiments and observations and inferences in the external laboratory, also needs to participate in the reality. So the quality of the mind, what kind of life you are leading, that is also important. So that they referred back to the very ancient Greek saying by Protagoras, who was actually a friend of Socrates. And he said, man is the measure of all things. That means the human form uh, has all the possibilities and the opportunities of biological evolution, which can reach a very high level of expectation later in the future, when man will be intelligent enough to understand his or her connection with the universe. And that was actually developed by Vitruvius. And this was developed by Vitruvius as a Vitruvian man. And this is a picture that was developed by one of the Renaissance artists, scientist, philosopher, mathematician, and designer. His name was Leonardo Vinci. So these are some of the Western precepts of ideas which are very close to the Indian idea, which is shown in the bottom left, which shows the inner laboratory of Indian ideas of reaching, which is mostly known in the ideas of contemplation, meditation, and normally we call it yoga. And there are different kinds of yogas. Hatha Yoga, Raj Yoga, Sudarshan Yoga, Kriya Yoga. But yoga is a yoga. What is a yoga? Yoga is the connection between the microcosm, the individual being, and the macrocosm, the huge cosmos. And that connection is something which science calls a grand unified field theory, and religion calls it God. Those terms are not important, but there is a connection which is very hidden, and these hidden connections may be open to debates and arguments and searches. So this is what quantum physicists had talked about in their choice for an inner laboratory. And in the next 2 or 3 classes, and that will be my classes, and then others will take over. I'll take you through the foundations of Vastu Shastra, foundations of Sthapatya Vidya and Nirman Vidya, how the foundations of Indian architecture, Indian shape grammar, Indian designs were actually based on this ancient connection of the small and the vast, the microcosm and the macrocosm. So there is a very strong foundation about the linkages between the two. This is only a snapshot. This is only a snapshot. Okay. So this is the idea about the inner laboratory, the idea about the inner laboratory. So this is the debate that went on between, I think I showed this slide, not to you, but some other class. This is the school of Athens. And these are the 2 great men about 400 BC, which is Plato, the guru, and the Shishwa, disciple, which is Aristotle. Now, Aristotle said, you can see his hands are down. Can you see that his hands are going down? He's showing to the material reality, groundedness. Be practical, don't be philosophical. Be grounded, get your money, start the business, be an entrepreneur. So Plato said, Aristotle, that is all fine, but if you are only materialistic, then the civilization will end. That's exactly what happened to the Greek civilization with one of the disciples of Aristotle, which was Alexander, because Alexander only followed Aristotle and did not follow Plato, and he became a rebellion, and then he became a very aggressive king, and finally an empire, and then he wanted to destroy a race which was more advanced than the Greeks, before the Persians. And then after defeating the Persians, after Alexander lost most of its empire, most of its army and everything, he came on the borders of India, and finally he was partially defeated by the Indian kings. So that question which was raised by someone last class, so India also had the might to battle it out. When people are invading India, I mean, India had some of the mercenaries and the army to defend it out. And you won't believe it that Sungas, who are mostly from eastern India, from Bihar, Assam, eastern Himalayas, they came and joined the kings of the west to fight the Greek army. And finally the Greek army was so weak that they could not progress farther into India. And then they settled on the western corners, what we call Afghanistan and Pakistan today. And that is why in Punjab and Sindh, we have a lot of Greek blood which is flowing. And that became the famous Greco-Bactrian kingship, like Milinda, Kushanas and others. So that's about history. So Plato said, Aristotle, if you're only materialistic, then the civilization will be destroyed. You should also have a higher philosophy, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You should look up, because if you're only looking down, then you will be so grounded that one day you lose yourself. You won't have a divine connection. You won't have a larger connection. You won't have a cosmic connection. You won't have a bigger connection. You won't see the bigger reality. You only talk about money and making business and defeating. Your life will be only based on competition. You'll have no traces of cooperation. So this is a theory which was taught by John Nash of Princeton in that famous movie, The Beautiful Mind. I don't know how many have seen that movie, which is known as the Nash's Equilibrium. So on which the game theory is based, where all the analytics, financial analytics, operation research, today they're all based on game theory. And mind it, game theory is not based on Darwinian or Freudian competition. It's based on the ancient Indian or Oriental idea of cooperation. Something like David Kurian, who started the White Revolution in India. So this is something very, very important. And this is a picture which was drawn in 14th, 15th century by Raphael. This is known as the School of Athens. And there was one man who actually was the friend of Plato, and he was in support of that. His name was Pythagoras. So Pythagoras wanted Greece to be surviving in the lines of Plato, but Aristotle did not listen, and Alexander did not listen even more, and Greece got destroyed in another 175 years, and then the Romans, with their military might, took over, and then civilization went farther in the west, and then the Dark Ages recede, come into Europe. That's a different history. So the discussion that we are having in the preceding slide is a picture by one of the Renaissance artists his name is known as Raphael, and this is Plato versus Aristotle. Why this is important? Because this debate, as Zaren said, is even valid right now. There are troughs and crests, there are ups and downs, and at
Sir, you are muted. Sir, you are muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think because can someone mute me? Then I should go to that thing and do something. I think somebody. Shivangi, kuch karna hai?
Sir, I was muted too.
Yeah, so I think that same problem like last class. So what should I do? Because I have started this class.
Sir, most of us are attendees only. So someone would be there who is a presenter. So you can check that.
So how do I do that? Shiva?
So maybe at the top of the screen you will find three dots from where you'll get a drop down of the meeting settings. Maybe there might be an option there. Sir, you're muted again. Sir, you're muted again.
So
Sir, actually, every one of us is a presenter and anyone can mute you. And I guess somebody is muting you.
yeah.
Yes, sir, you have to make all of us as attendee.
Yeah. Can you just write the
Right.
steps on the chat box? What exactly I have to do? Because I have opened up the setting.
So can you
So
open up the Teams?
Yeah, can you share your screen so that we can guide you through the steps and you can.
Okay. So let me unshare the PowerPoint. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's great. I think I should learn this once for all. Yeah. So you can share it. You can see it. Okay.
Share your whole screen, sir, so that we can even see
so I've
the
shared my whole
Teams
screen.
window.
Yeah. This. So
Yes,
can
sir,
you go to
visible.
So can I go to? Can I go to?
The current meeting
Please click
screen.
on general, sir.
A general. Okay. 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 I've gone to general.
Please click on the join.
So I click on the join. Okay.
Yes.
So I click on the join.
After that, you will get a screen like with all our members.
Yeah. I've got the screen with all of you. Okay.
But
Sir,
I am not. We are not seeing.
Yes, sir. You'll have to share your whole screen so that we will be able to even see the Teams meeting screen.
Just
So
a sec.
whoever is saying someone is removing you. So I have been kicked out like 3 to 4 times.
Us from the meeting as well, actually.
Yeah. So I'm sharing the whole screen with you. Yes.
The 3 dots, sir.
Yeah, the 3 dots, right. Next.
So can you check meeting info?
Meeting info, yes.
Yes, just a minute.
Some meeting options.
Meeting
Meeting options. Meeting info or meeting options? Meeting options. Okay, meeting options. Yeah, meeting options.
Who can present? You can change that. You can click on the drop down menu and you can change the option.
So allow let callers bypass the lobby. So which one I change?
Who can present, sir? There's
Who
everyone
can present?
drop
You
down,
click
right?
on the drop down menu. Yeah, that one.
Only me. So I put it only me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So I save it.
You can also change the allow mic for attendees option.
Allow mic for attendees.
No, sir. We won't be able to unmute ourselves. I think that is still fine.
No, that is. I think only me is good enough.
Yeah.
So I save this. I save this.
Sure.
I save. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, done. I think now. I think now Alexander will be stopped at the borders of India. Okay.
We were muted, sir. We weren't able to talk. Yes, sir. We all were. All our mics were disabled, so we were not able to unmute also.
Now it's fine,
can
sir.
you? Now it's
Yes, sir,
fine.
now
no?
it's
Yes,
fine.
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
it's
We all.
fine now.
Yes, sir, we can unmute now.
Yes, sir, it's fine, sir.
Okay, so this is how I learned. So this is what Zaren was talking, the rise and the fall of civilization. So inside a class, we were going up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now we have come down and now we are going up again. Okay. So you saw a live demonstration of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Did you get me what I just said? Yeah.
Yes, sir, right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So this is a living demonstration of what happens in 1000 years also can happen in 10 minutes. So one is macrocosm, the other is microcosm. So I think whoever did this did good to us. He gave us a living demonstration of what I wanted to explain you otherwise. So now you understand what is the connection between the microcosm and the macrocosm, because both have the same pattern. Am I right, Zaren? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So now I'm going to that slide where I was. Yeah, so I was there. So you can see the slide.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So I think let us move fast because it's a holiday and you're all tired at the end of the day. And so this is about Plato and Aristotle. And this is a very important slide about. So can someone tell me what is there in the slide, the left hand side? क्या देख रहे हैं आपको? You can see a linear equation, isn't it? Y is equal to a plus bx. So this
Sir, you
yes?
can put it into the full screen mode.
Yeah, I'll put it in the. I'm just writing something, Shivangi.
Sure, sir. Okay.
Or y is equal to bx. I'm doing it, Shivangi. Just a sec. ये बहुत simple question है. I think you'll be, but this is a very simple explanation of what I was trying to do. Let's just a sec. So this is a full screen. Shivangi, am I okay?
No, sir. It's not full screen.
It's not full screen. I made it full screen.
There's a time
Sir,
lag.
you can
Yeah,
click
now
on
it's
slide.
It's there. It's there.
Yeah, it's full screen right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Shivangi, full screen? Okay, fine. So what is the difference between equation 1 and equation 2?
So starting from a different.
There is no intercept.
Yeah, in equation 2, there is no intercept. It has, that means the value of y is fully dependent on the value of x. Is it so? Okay.
Yes.
But in equation 1, there is an independent value of y, even though the value of x is not put into, the y to begin with has an initial value, which is a, intercept, small a, small a. So this is in equation 2, we don't have a initial value or an older value, but in equation 1, we have an older value and also a new value. So in equation 2, we only have future. In equation 1, we have past, present, and future. So, and in equation 1, the growth of the curve gets a higher boost, a higher slope, and a higher growth curve. So if you have a beginning, if you have an origin, if you have some ideas about your past, then the growth of the future maybe, I'm not saying absolutely, will be very strong. This is a good enough logic to explain why we need a study of the past to design a good future. And this is, you can prove it mathematically and even with differential equations. And in scientific studies, in economics, econometrics, this is known as dynamics. So dynamics of settlements, statics and dynamics of physics, dynamics of data management, econometrics. So that is why there is a need of IKS to study it as a past and also its application in the future to have a full growth. Because if you don't have the value of A, which is intercept, your equation will not kick start. It won't jump start. But if you have an initial value of A, it will jump start. So am I audible? And the slide is visible? Okay, so let me go fast.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. And today I have learned something from you. Meetings option. Okay, Shivangi, ekdam.
Yes, sir.
So that we can stop Alexander at Indus Valley Civilization. Okay, good. So now we move on to the second part, Foundation Day talk, Indian knowledge system. So why का कुछ answer हो गया, सब answer नहीं हो, just general discussion. So fine, so we need IKS, but then what is IKS? What is IKS? What is Indian knowledge system? So Indian knowledge system is actually a deeper understanding of time cycles. It's a deeper understanding of hierarchy, and it's a deeper understanding of sustainability, because normally we look at equations as a linear programming. You can see the blue ball is going up and it's coming down. This slide I was showing to another group of people, but the blue ball, which is actually going up and down as a spring pendulum as a linear programming equation, is actually the projection of a non-linear or a cyclic equation where it's coming back and the past is becoming the future and the future is becoming the past and the past is becoming the future and the future is again becoming the past, because the older portion of the ball is again retraced by the new movement of the ball. So the position is past and future, but the ball is moving in new cycles. So this is a concept that you have to understand. So if you're in cycle 1, you have one definition of past and future. If you're in cycle 2, you're in another definition of past and future. And this is something which is a foundation of physics. There was a great scientist, his name was Sadi Carnot, and he applied this principle in thermodynamics. So this is what Jeslu is working on, which is thermodynamics, which is actually the foundation of psychometric scale, hygroscopic scale, hydrological scale, and comfort in body. So this is where heat and the absence of heat are the two basic constraints of comfort. If you have too much of heat, then everybody will die, isn't it? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
And if you have too much of cold, then everybody will die.
Yes,
When
sir.
will you not die? When will you not die? So the common answer is
Maintain it.
Balance.
Yeah, when you have a balance between heat and cold, when you have a balance between the two isothermals and the two adiabatics, when you have a balance between summer and winter, this is the external Carnot cycle. When you have a balance between spring semester and autumn semester, when you have a balance between rise, which is spring, and autumn, which is fall. So look at the climatic words. They're also physics. Rise, spring, and fall, which is autumn. So rise and fall, spring and autumn, spring and autumn, spring and autumn. And Confucius in China wrote a very interesting book called Spring and Autumn. And in that book, he has not discussed climate even for a line. वो पूरा सारी किताब में क्लाइमेट के ऊपर कुछ डिस्कशन नहीं है, लेकिन वो किताब का नाम है Spring and Autumn. Instead, he has actually talked about the social changes, the economic changes, the changes that happens in your life. So Confucius and Lao Tzu knew this eternal truth, which Sadi Carnot in thermodynamics also knew. And that is how you can distribute the data. So look at the change that is going on in the GIF file on the right. Everybody can see that the GIF file?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what are the 4 ways you can distribute the data? Can someone tell me? You can read it. Can you? I think it's too small. So can you read it?
Radial tree, radial cluster, tree and cluster.
Wonderful, wonderful. So if it's a cluster form, the data distribution looks like a dendrogram. If it's a tree form, it looks like a branch of a tree. If it's a radial cluster, it looks like a top of a tree. And if it's looked like a radial tree, it looks like different peripheries of a tree. So you see, what is geometry is also distribution of data. What is distribution of data is also geometry. So geometrical information in 3 dimension is a distribution of data in mathematical plane. So the mathematical plane of numbers is the geometrical projection of the universe. In other words, the geometrical projection of numbers as the cosmos is the non-geometrical or mathematical projection of the cosmos as numbers. Did you get me what I just said? So that is the connection between mathematics.
Sir, electrical.
What is that?
Sir, electrical communication systems. In which pattern based electrical communication systems?
Electrical communications between conductance and inductance and impedance. LC circuits. And this is what Maxwell worked on. So the perpendicular rhythm is electrical vibration and the cross rhythm is magnetic vibration. Am I right? Who was this? That was a beautiful observation.
So Shubham, sir.
Shubham, wonderful Shubham. So Maxwell, he was the father of electrical sciences. I mean, everything that we are doing today is all under Clerk Maxwell, electrical and magnetic. So as electricity, you have a field. And as a magnetism, you collapse into discrete numbers. As electricity, you get into waves and oscillations. You see the entirety because the electrons are distributed all over the universe. And as magnetism, there's gravity. You collapse into singularity. You know, that like the black hole or even the connection between the mother and the child. That's gravity. You know, a little child falls in. So there's a magnetism between the mother and the child. There's even a magnetism between the teacher and the disciple. You know, Guru Shishya. You know, between Shukdev and Bashdev. You know, there's a magnetic connection between St. Paul and Jesus Christ. There's a magnetic connection between Lord Buddha and Sariputra, his disciple. There's a magnetic connection between Rabindranath Tagore and Nandalal Bose. There's a magnetic connection between Barack Obama and Joe Biden, because one is a former president and one is a later president. So one is involved and the other is evolving. So there's a continuous connection between involution and evolution. So the involutionary collapse is magnetism and the evolutionary expansion is electricity. So the entire life, the progress of humanity is based on electricity and magnetism. So this is a deeper understanding of time cycles, of hierarchy and sustainability. This is the foundation of Vijnana, which is Indian science, where mathematical knowledge of numbers is a projection of the geometrical knowledge of the cosmos as colors, and the geometrical knowledge of cosmos as colors are projected back into the mathematical knowledge of numbers, which is frequency. So one is colors, which is Jyoti, and the other is sound, which is numbers. So Jyoti and Nad, light and sound, are the two fundamentals of education, of understanding of the cosmos. You know, Rabindranath Tagore said, if a scientist has fully understood the fundamentals of color and the fundamentals of light, then he is a complete scientist. And this was also said by Goethe, a middle-aged European scientist. I mean, where he said a lot of things, and Einstein studied him very carefully. So this is a very, very, very important slide. So the same data can be represented in a linear form, in a non-linear form, in a cluster form, in a tree form, in a radial cluster form, and in a concentric form, which is different peripheries or circumferences. So our solar system is actually a radial tree, and the radial cluster is actually the top view of any network in VLSIC. And the cluster planning is the data distribution that you do in financial analytics. So the data is distributed in different forms to portray different systems of knowledge. So this is something which is very, very important to understand. See, I'm not an expert in this. I just know, as I told you, the tip of the iceberg. Today, I'm just sharing with you the tip of the iceberg. So if you know one knowledge deeply, you can know the other knowledge in breadth. If you know one knowledge in depth, if you're a very good musician, then you're also a great physicist. If you're a very good physicist, then you're also a great musician. Why? Why? Because you have touched the deeper understanding of existence, of humanity and the cosmos. And this is what Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg wanted to say. So this is a very, very, hum log aaj meet kiya only because of this slide. This slide is very, very important, because on the one hand, you have computer algorithms and knowledge systems. On the other hand, you have geometry and art systems and shape grammars. So this is a combination of science and art. This is a combination of what you draw and what you compute. The two sides of the human mind, the analytical side and the intuitive side, is very interconnected here. So this is the deeper understanding of time, of hierarchy of data, and its understanding over time, which you call sustainability. So this is the foundation of Indian knowledge system. So ये जो हम लोग अभी last 3-4 minutes में what we have discussed, this is a foundation. As I told you, I'm not an expert on this. You guys are the experts. You guys are from computer science, from aeronautical, from biological science, from mechanical science, from electrical science, like Shubham. So lovely answer came from Shubham. So it is up to you to contribute those 3-4 pages of a wonderful book. Wonderful book. So I'll share that assignment with you once Joy comes up with that thing. So this is something which is very important. So this is actually portrayed. This is actually portrayed in this ancient diagram of the serpent eating its own tail, which was understood by Kekule, who is the father of organic chemistry, and it was also understood by Hippocrates, who gave the idea of two serpents conjoined, which became the symbol of World Health Organization today. So biological science and chemical science were unified as a single systems of knowledge. So the circle is moving and the waves are being produced. So the wave equation is actually a cyclic equation, and the linear equation is actually a cyclic equation. So the world of lines, the world of cycles, and everybody can see this slide? Everybody can see this slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and
Yes,
this is
sir.
something which got a Nobel Prize in 1966. Ilya Prigogine, the father of nanochemistry, and that is where nanophysics and nanochemistry and then nanomaterials in 1980s and 90s, and now we have smart MEMS. That's micro electromechanical systems based on nanoparticles and nanomaterials. And in biology at the macroscopic level, this is known as the life cycle equation, which is the life cycle analysis. That means you start from cradle, you go to the grave, and again you come back to cradle. So in India, we have this ancient concept of Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, Fir Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, Fir Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. So Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar is not the name of 3 specific gods. They are the names of 3 specific stages of creation. One is creation, one is sustenance, and one is destruction or recreation. So he's Rudra, and again he restores back as Brahma. So if you take the 3 things together, in Christianity you get Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. In India, you get the wonderful icon. I don't know how many of you know this, which is known as Dattatreya. So where you get the Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar together. So these are all, we think they're religious concepts, but actually they are very strong scientific concepts. They were in the past, but in the Middle Ages they are distorted and they are not explained properly, and that's why they are lost. So it is the onus of you, if you are interested, to expand and explain some of these ancient things in the light of modern advent of sciences. So this is what is it about, and this is what is the connection between forms and non-form. So what is physics is actually music. So what is music is actually physics. So the nodes and the antinodes and the waves are actually the whole ocean of consciousness, which is cosmic music. I mean, if you're going in a car on a highway, you'll hear one kind of a sound, isn't it? But if you're going in a car through a hill tunnel, you'll listen to another kind of a sound. And if you're going through a bridge with occasional piers, then you'll hear a sound like hush, hush, because your left and right armature, sometimes you have a barrier, sometimes you're open to outside. So your entire experience of the 3-dimension is based on the 3-dimensional enclosure. So light and sound is ultimately name and form. Name and form is light and sound. So what is light and sound as art, what is name and form as art is actually light and sound as science. So science and art is combined. And this is explained by physics in a certain way with mathematics, and this is explained by a musician in a different way. So I'm going a little faster. So these were actually developed at a very ancient point of time, and very recently Microsoft has done a exercise on this. One of the IITians of IIT Kharagpur has actually done. I think if I can get him, I'll have a special lecture by him. And it has been found out that some of the ancient Indian ragas were very close to the first Greek modes. For example, Rag Kafi was Dorian mode. I'm not getting into the details of this. This is taken from a different YouTube altogether. And there's a lot of research which has actually gone, and it shows that how ancient Indian science is extremely modern today. I mean, we can actually have a whole class on this particular slide, but what I'm trying to say is the connection. And this connection was explained by numbers. And I think you all know India gave to the world the idea of Sunya, which is zero, and Advaitam, which is unity and one. And that is the foundation of binary systems. And it was from India, which is Dasam, Ekam, Dvaitam, Tritam, Chaturtham, Pancham, pentet, Shashtam, sextet, Saptam, septet, Ashtam, octet, Navam, nonen, and then Dasam, decimal. So even these words in mathematics have originated from Sanskrit. Even these words in mathematics have originated from ancient Sanskrit. And India has given the world the idea of the ancient ideas of 0 and 1. And this is what Laplace is saying. I'm not getting into the detail of that. They'll be covered in other courses on mathematics by Professor Shomesh Kumar and others. And this is what Nobel laureate Bertrand Russell has said, where the knowledge moved from India to Persia to Greece and finally to Europe. So Indian mathematics actually civilized the entire world. Science was born from India, and it was developed definitely by the Western people, but it originated from India. That is, so the complete truth or history of science is India plus the West, including Persia and Greece. If you miss half of it, you don't have a complete history of science. So this was actually explained by a great scientist. His name was Jagadish Chandra Bose, who was a mathematician, a physicist, and also a biologist. And he did some great works, and he was known as a polymath. And he developed a crescograph which could prove that plants are living. They are not abiotic, they are actually biotic. And he was one of the living Leonardo Vinci's of the present time. So if I ever get an extra class, Jeslu, Shivangi, you can note this. I don't think I'll be able to take this class within IKS. Shivangi,
Yes.
If I get an extra class, I'll take a special discussion talk on Acharya Jagadish Chandra Bose, and he actually stood between all these great scientists like Richard Feynman and Marconi. That is the time around Marconi, and some of his greatest disciples were like S.N. Bose, who wrote papers with Albert and Einstein. And this is what Neville Mott, the Nobel laureate 1977 of solid state electronics, said, that J.C. Bose was at least 60 years ahead of his time. In fact, he had anticipated the existence of p-type and n-type semiconductors 60 years back before they were invented. So even the father, J.C. Bose, today has been acclaimed as the father of electronics. And he is also a father of great disciples like Satyendranath Bose, who worked with Albert Einstein, like Devendra Mohan Bose, who started the Indian Planning Commission. Who started the Atomic Commission, and then Professor Meghnad Shah, who started the Planning Commission with Professor Vishwesvaraya and Pandit Nehru. So he's like the father of modern economics, modern science, and modern physics. So this is also IKS, because most of his work was based on that. I'm going a little fast, and about the year 1900, in the presence of two other people, Patrick Geddes and Swami Vivekananda, Jagadish Bose gave a wonderful demonstration at Paris. And then in 1926, he came back to Paris again and explained something what is actually the foundation of biotechnology today, biosciences and human machine interfaces. So he was a genius, and he linked ancient biological science with modern science. So this is Indian knowledge systems. And he connected the three scientists who had met Swami Vivekananda in 1893. On the top, can you tell me who is he? Top right, whose picture? Anyone? ये किसका picture है भाई? Tesla. Nikola Tesla. So Nikola Tesla was a good friend of Swami Vivekananda, and Tesla took Vivekananda to his lab for about 21 days. And he agreed that Indian metaphysics and philosophy could make Western physics, modern physics, even more richer. And Tesla agreed to Swamiji, and there was a meeting between Tesla and the great thermodynamic physicist Hermann Helmholtz. The middle picture, Hermann Helmholtz, Helmholtz. So he's the father of thermodynamic physics. And can someone tell me whose picture is this? Niche mein on the left. Can someone tell me who is this? This is William Thomson, who is actually known as, anyone? Lord Kelvin. He is the father of electricity, electrical sciences. So Kelvin, Helmholtz, and Tesla met Swamiji days after days, and Tesla continued for 81 to 21 days. And this was a great thing. And this was followed by Jagadish Chandra Bose in the later years. That's a different story of Indian knowledge systems. And that expanded in the biological sciences through the works of James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis. So you can Google Gaia's hypothesis. I don't have much time today to explain you all this. And that led, on the one hand, to the beautiful dialogue between Patrick Geddes, a biologist, botanist, environmentalist from the University of Edinburgh, who came to India and became the friend of Rabindranath Tagore, on the one hand, and that led to the evolution of Gaia's hypothesis by two chemical scientists and biologists, James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis. So study for yourself. Maybe in a later class, we'll have a discussion on it, which proves that the entire cosmos with the Earth in it has a planetary consciousness. And there is a deeper consciousness which science will find one day, which has been showed by James Cameron in his third movie known as the Avatar. And today it's known as the life cycle analysis equation in ecological and environmental studies. So this is Indian knowledge systems. So with this, we come to the last part of the presentation, and I'll try and finish it within the next 10 to 15 minutes because it's already a long class. And so finally, how we are going to do it. So the first, when there's some group of people who wanted to undermine Indian sciences and say everything is bakwas and superstition and backdated, then there are about 4 people, in fact 5 of them, who actually started the initial protest. Dayanand Saraswati, Tilak, Vivekananda, Aurobindo and Tagore. But the actual progress was made by Ambedkar, Will Durant, A.L. Basham, Michel Danino, David Frawley, George Feuerstein and others. So these are some books which you can read. Ambedkar's Social Sciences, Who Are the Sudras, Will Durant, Chapter 1 of the Story of Civilization, Our Oriental Heritage. A.L. Basham's a very famous book. If you have not read this book, then we don't know anything about India, the wonder that was India. And Michel Danino's very famous book, The Invasion That Never Was, the Aryan invasion that never happened. It was a colonial manipulation based on races, which was created by the British, some group of British and Germans, to show that the Europeans were superior to the Indians and Indians must be civilized. So this is how they manipulated the Aryan invasion myth. And today about 60 to 70% of the Aryan invasion myth has been proved to be wrong. Maybe in another 10 years, it will be erased from the books of history. So we are waiting for that day, and that will be the rise of Indian wisdom. So this was also done by other people. So that's a book by A.L. Basham, you can see it. And there was a great man who was a British judge who came to India and he became a sadhu and he started writing books on India. And he was a judge in Calcutta High Court. His name was Sir John Woodroffe. And he discovered the ancient Indian Shakti literature, which is known as the Tantras. Normally by Tantra, we think they're magic and all that, but he rediscovered the Tantras, and then he said Tantra is a word by which the modern systems of thoughts and working sciences has been done. Like Prajatantra is republic, Rajtantra is monarchy, Shaira Tantra is autocracy, Vishwa Tantra is cosmology, Tantuj is weaving and looming, which is the foundation of computational sciences. Charles Babbage, the Jacquard's loom, it's a foundation of binary mathematics. So the entire computational sciences evolves from Tantuj, from loom, the iteration of the card punching system, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0. So based on that, it will create a certain pattern in your carpet or in your loom. So from there, Charles Babbage transferred that into a systems, and that was the first modern computer code that evolved from the ancient Jacquard people of ancient France. So it comes from the ancient foundations of Indian knowledge system, where in the Rig Veda, it is said that the entire cosmos is a loom, it's a weaving, it's a web, it's a wave, it's an eve, it's a wave, it's a wave, it's a web of life. So these are very interesting things which I cannot explain you in 1 hour. As I told you, this is a tip of the iceberg. And these are some of the people who came to India. 4 ladies, they are from the West. The first lady is Margaret Noble. She dedicated herself to Indian art, Sister Nivedita. The second lady is Mira Alfaza. She is the mother of Pondicherry. She dedicated her to the entire resurrection of India, Indian spirituality, the Star of David, which is a symbol of Sri Aurobindo, and the symbol of Hippocrates, the 2 serpents, left you can see. The third one is Margaret Wilson, who was the daughter of President Woodrow Wilson, who came to Pondicherry, and she dedicated her life to the writing of the first books on Indian knowledge system. The fourth picture is of Alice Bonner, who was a friend of Pandit Uday Shankar, the elder brother of Pandit Ravi Shankar, who was also a friend of the Beatles, George Harrison, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and John Lennon. So Alice Bonner came to Varanasi, and if you go to IIT, BHU and BHU in Kala Bhavan, an entire floor is dedicated. So here are 4 wonderful, great Western ladies who gave their life to the beginnings of Indian knowledge systems. So Indian knowledge systems, the first books were written by 4 Western ladies. Jeslu, you'll love this. This is a fact. This is a fact. And they have helped in the advancement. Shivangi, you'll love this. Zarin. So the first movements I think all the girls today who are all here, they'll love this. The first contributions to Indian knowledge systems in terms of sustained academics, research and progress and writing textbooks were given by 4 Western ladies. So they came to India and they fought the British, though they are people from the West, and they then they realize there's something very great about the Indian civilization, and that is how they contributed. And this is a great story, and there are a lot of others. On the top, one of their friend, that is Acharya Abhinandan Thakur, was a very good friend of Nivedita and others. So this is what you need to know, and this is how it was converted into various diagrams and all things. I think I'll explain this diagram next class. So don't worry about this. I'll explain this diagram next class. And this diagram is the basis of Indian architecture, Indian built environmental sciences, for which I'll dedicate 2 more classes, and then other professors will take over. And then finally in the end, then Akhidi will take 1 class, and then I'll come back again in the end to take 1 or 2, 3 extra classes, provided you ask me to take those classes. I'll open up again some of those classes. So I'm starting, Akhidi is taking over, and then I will again take it over towards the end. So this is the ideas about Indian knowledge system, where the roots are not below and the branches are above, but the roots are above and the branches are below. So this is a beautiful diagram, and this is explained by a great scientist of MIT, New Cambridge, US. His name is Norbert Wiener, and he worked on the Indian philosophy and the ancient Greek sciences of cybernetics, which is a very important computer word. And he said science is in 4 levels. The science that we have done so far is physical and Cartesian. The science that we are just taking up is mental and habitual, like physical sciences, planning sciences. The science of tomorrow is cognitive and meditational sciences. And the science of 25th and 26th century is cosmological and galactic sciences. So Norbert Wiener, the father of MIT cybernetics, predicted this in about between 1926 and 1936, between the First World War and the Second World War. So we owe a lot. Indian knowledge system owes a lot. You need to study Norbert Wiener. So people who are from cybernetics, from econometrics, from game theory, from operational research, from quantum computation, qubits, works of quantum electrodynamics by Richard Feynman. If you are familiar with these lines, then there is a lot of cybernetics involved in this. So you see, knowledge is so interrelated and interdependent. And this is what our rishis, our sages of India, had talked about thousands of years back. In between, we had forgotten. But again, a time has come. And this time has been garnered. It has been augmented by Western science. So Western science is not the enemy of Indian knowledge systems. Western science is the biggest friend of Indian knowledge system, because it is through Western science we are able to prove Indian knowledge system. So the paper, the 2 or 3 page contribution that you are going to have will have 1 page on the Indian side, it will have 1 page on the Western side, and then you'll have 1 more page on synthesis of the 2 sides. Then only you are someone like Tagore or Gandhiji, because they were very international people as they are national people. They are absolutely international people at the same time. They are global and local at the same time. So if you are modern and if you are traditional at the same time, then you are a complete human being. If you're only traditional, then you're incomplete. If you're only modern, then you're incomplete. But if you have the 2 sides in your life, then you're a complete human being. So please, as an older person today on the foundation day of the Institute, I pray to Almighty that you all become complete human beings and you contribute to the people of this country and you contribute to the whole world and you become great scientists and technocrats and you become wonderful people. I can see a great future in all of you, all of you. The people who don't believe in me, I also believe in them. The people who believe in me, I also believe in them. The people who half believe in me, I also believe in them, because I think believing is only a stage over time and space, and they change. You have to give time to others, because the belief systems also changes over time, and the change of belief systems over time is called evolution. It's called evolution and progress. And if you don't have evolution and progress, you are not human beings. There's no science, and you must have iterative experiments, observations, and inferences. You must check your results and again. So Indian knowledge system is like that. किधर में कुछ मिल गया, कोई ऋषि कुछ बता दिया, and we cannot take it absolutely. You have to check it again and again through science, through mathematics, and then only you accept it. This is the motto of the Center of Excellence of Indian Knowledge Systems at IIT Kharagpur, the best of both the worlds. And so this is the background to IKS, how it all started. I just have 4 or 5 more slides. I'll finish. So this is when Swami Vivekananda went from India to Vancouver, British Columbia, in the ship. He met Jamshedji Tata. They are about 10 days together. And that is the time Swami Vivekananda and Jamshedji Tata talked about India's modernization, India's industrialization. And then after Swamiji reached US and Europe, he first met Tesla, Helmholtz, and Lord Kelvin. And on the way back, he met Max Muller in Germany. So that is the beginning of Indian knowledge system. And then in 1901, Lokmanya Tilak came to Belur Math in Kolkata to take the idea of an Institute of Indian Knowledge System. But it actually started in 1929 when Werner Heisenberg came to Kolkata to meet Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore, because he said, whatever we are doing through mathematics and through numbers, I can read that in the poetries of Tagore. And the next year, Albert Einstein invited Tagore to his house in Berlin. And then later, in 1952, the work of Sri Aurobindo was taken to the US, to Stanford University, and then the American Institute of Integral Sciences was opened up. That was Haridas Chaudhuri, and that led to the foundation of the Esalen Institute in California, where 3 young students had come. One of them was Alan Watts, the second person was Arnold Toynbee, and the third person was Abraham Maslow. And they opened up a new area of Indian knowledge systems in the West. And then finally, the work went on for ages to come. And then Mother Mira Alfeza expanded the French Institute of Pondicherry at Pondicherry, and there were great exchanges. And the daughter of US President Woodrow Wilson's, Margaret Wilson, came to Pondicherry to expand the American-French-Indian collaboration. And then finally, in 2004, the Presidential Council of World's Particle Physics, CERN, at Switzerland in Europe, 2004, accepted the symbol of space and time and the changes of flux, which is Nataraj, at the open yard of the Center of Particle Physics. So you can see that Dr. Amer is actually signing with Dr. Anil Kakotkar. Dr. Anil Kakotkar came to IIT Kharagpur in 2004 to deliver the convocation lecture. I have met him personally. So they are in the presence of Dr. K.M. Chandrasekhar, a great scientist. So it is at this time Indian spiritual foundation was accepted by Western science. And this is the highest center of world's particle physics. This is 2004. A time when you're already born, you're very young, you're probably a kid. This is about 16 years back. What is your age right now, Rohit, for example? Rohit?
22.
No, so you're about 6 years old when this statue of Nataraj was established at CERN, and a lot of things have happened after that. And then it was garnered by Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan at the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla, to set up a foundation of Indian knowledge system, and that was garnered by 3 Indian scientists, J.C. Bose, Gajendranath Sheel, and P.C. Ray. And then that became the first book of Indian knowledge system by Dr. Kapil Kapoor and A.K. Singh from IS Shimla. And then since in the last 40 years, a lot of progress has been made. And then finally, 2014, the Science and Heritage Initiative came to IIT Kharagpur. Shivangi and Moli were the TAs of here. Moli, are you here? Of course you're here. Of course you're here. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So with Sandhi, IIT Kharagpur made a huge mark. With Sandhi, find a lot of websites. And last year, we had an international webinar where the Ministry of Education, under the policy of the National Education Policy 2020, promised to open up the first Center of Excellence for Indian knowledge systems at IIT Kharagpur. And that is where we are, where all of you will hopefully come in a few months and have a cup of tea with all of us and a cup of coffee with Molidi, because Molidi drinks coffee only, not that much of tea. And we'll all have a very detailed discussion and we'll do an exhibition. So one of the last outputs, Jeslu, kindly note this, one of the last outputs of this class, everybody will do a visual, one electronic exhibit, which will exhibit in Kolkata, in Delhi, and we'll make a website. We'll expose it to the whole world. We'll show here are 425 students of IIT Kharagpur from all branches, and they have given their heart and mind to the foundations of Indian systems. So, and evaluation is just secondary. So you write a small subchapter of a book, that is assignment 1, and you do an electronic thing. Moli, Shivangi, and Jeslu and Akhidi is going to steer that, and that will be the basis of all that. So with this, we come to the last slide. That is the promise at IIT Kharagpur. So today, we have just discussed only a small tip of the iceberg. If you are sincere, which you all are, if you are diligent, which you all are, if you are all very persevering, which you all are, they are all there, all the qualities, then the tip of the iceberg will be transformed to the whole iceberg. And you can see the entire iceberg of Indian knowledge systems, just not to save India, but to save the whole world, to whole humanity, So this is what the prayer is. This is a small Foundation Day lecture, not a Foundation Day lecture. This is my arrogance. I withdraw my statement. This is only a Foundation Day exchange of thoughts with beautiful 425. I don't know how many people are present today, maybe 300 or 350. Shivangi, how many people are present today, roughly?
Sir, 174 including us.
Oh, that's not bad. About half the people are present today. So these are the 175 cream people who are present today on the Foundation Day. And I'm sure they have at least liked a few things here and there. And they'll lead the other 175 people in the class who are not present today, which is absolutely okay. If I was in their age, I would have bunked today's class. अरे Foundation Day में class लेगा ये कौन सारा जॉयसन है भाई, उसको छोड़ो, भागो, उसको फेंको. Let's have a cup of coffee in Connaught Place, Delhi, if I am in Delhi. चलो उधर में जाओ. So what you have done, so the people who have attended the class, they have done a right thing. The people who have not attended that class, they have also done a right thing. So I think with the two right things, the greater right thing and the lesser right thing, we achieve the complete truth. And that is the spirit of Indian knowledge system. So with this, I'll stop my presentation and I welcome you to the great auspicious day of August 18th. Think about the institute, think about yourself, think about the country, think about the whole humanity. Once you do that, you automatically become a guardian of Indian knowledge systems. Thank you. I think I'll stop here. I'll stop presenting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I hope.
Thanks a lot.
I hope I made some sense to you, and the rest is up to you, you wonderful people. And it's so nice to see Jai Krishna, who is my old friend, to see Rupesh, to see Pona, to see Bhuvanendra, a wonderful name, Anshul, Animesh, Ananya, Ashwin, and let's read some other names, like everybody. I think I cannot read all the names, but everybody is there. Yeah, there's some questions. I think it's already. Let me put on the. Because my computer is running out of power. Just a sec. Yeah. So Shivangi, how many questions we can take? 3 maximum. Yeah, because it's already 7:51. Yeah. Okay. So let's take. So let's take. If there are 3 questions, if there are no questions, then it's all fine. Good chai pila. Moli, where is your coffee? Yes, Anshul, any question?
So you said that there are so many universities which are like giving Sanskrit education, but why don't we have such universities in India?
Yeah, actually, there's a wonderful thing which happened, at around. That's a very good question, and it's great that you asked this question. You know what happened? the Jesuit missionaries came to India in Goa. This is about 300 years back. And there are some very intellectually brilliant Jesuit missionaries who came to Goa, like St. Xavier's movement. I work for St. Xavier's. I know the fathers very well. My brother-in-law is from St. Xavier's. So they found out within 20 years, they found out fantastic similarities between Indian words and scientific words of the West, like taksha, as I told you, techno, like tantu, which is tent, like pisa, which is paisa, which is an economic word, like kala, which is cell. Kala is like the various sectors of a circle, like sarka or charka, which is sarka. So circle comes from the word charka. Like roti, the shape of a chapati, which is a circle, rotary. So like this, they found about 150 words, and that opened up a small school in Goa. It all started in Goa, and then that school invented about 10,000 words, and then it became almost close to 50,000 words. And they're very excited because they found a connection between Europe and India and all that. But some people saw it as a problem, because if these are from a common origin, then the question is, have they gone from India to the West, or they have come from the West to India? I mean, where is the arrow? Where is the arrow? So they were trying to work out. And then there are some people under the Asiatic Society, which happened after 70, 80, 90 years under William C. Jones, and finally under Max Muller. They manipulated some of the slokas of the Rig Vedas, where there's some shades of lights and jyoti, which are black and red and white. They manipulated those slokas, and they said those blacks are those people who are killed, who are the black-skinned people of India, and those white are not jyotis, they are the white-skinned people of the West who had invaded India. And then there was a guy called Montgomery Wheeler with James Ferguson. After the opening of the Indus Valley, they found some skeletons which were broken, and they immediately said that these are the people, there was a battle in Indus, and they were killed, and these are the Aryans who came invaded on horses. Before that in India there was no horses, and blah 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 blah, and all those kind of things. So within 100 years, I'm coming to Anshul's beautiful questions. Germany became a repository of universities on Sanskrit, because Germany wanted to prove that it all came from Germany, and then it came to the Caucasian Balkan plain, and then it entered Persia, and then it finally came to India. The French people said, no, it came from France. And then from France, it went to Germany. And the British said, no, it came from Gales, from Ireland, and we are the super race. So they fought over it for about 50 years, and that triggered the First World War to an extent. And then this thing was taken up very seriously, and then the Germans converted this into an Aryan super race myth, under a guy called Chamberlain, who was the guru of a very interesting guy called Adolf Hitler. And within 5 years, between 1931 and 1935, he formed the Club of Germany, and he got very interesting people like Himmler and Goebbels and others. And he created a battalion of about 550 people. They are known as the SSS, or the Gestapos. And that led to the super German race, who said that the future of Europe is in the hands of Germany, because the Aryans are the Germans, and the secondary Aryans are the French and the British, and the tertiary Aryans are the Western Asians, the steppe people, and the quaternary Aryans are the Indians and the Persians. So this is the theory which led to the Aryan invasion myth. So if you go back to the cause, so all the German people and maximum money went after the study of Sanskrit. So within about a span of 75 to 100 years, Germany produced the maximum number of universities studying Sanskrit. So that is the beginning of things. And today, because of advancement in computer sciences, which is NLP, natural language processing, the computer has identified Sanskrit to be the most powerful computer code language, having 49 vowels and alphabets, to make the code maximum iterative and modules, so that you can cross-communicate and translate between any language of the world, and also do language coding and work on cryptology, which is the science of security. So Sanskrit today is the future of security sciences. Come on, Sanskrit today is a future of security sciences, which is cryptic sciences and computer sciences. So Sanskrit all of again under artificial intelligence, and then a certain domain of artificial intelligence, which is machine learning, and then a certain domain of machine learning, which is deep learning. Sanskrit has again become popular in Germany. So Germany has again regained in the last 5, 10, 12 years. So our professor Pavan Goyal of computer science is actually from there. So he can tell you this story very powerfully. So Sanskrit became powerful and very popular 100 years back, the times of Max Muller. And today again it has become powerful because of computer sciences. That time it became powerful because of the Aryan invasion myth, but today it has become because the faster someone can crack Sanskrit with the computers. So the German university already has a rich background compared to other universities like the US or the Japan or the French university. So they are wishing that the first 3 or 4 Nobel Prizes on Sanskrit as the NLP code of Sanskrit of computer codes will go to Germany. It won't go to US. So it's always based on competition. It's always based on a rat race. So if you are always based on a rat race, you just get the rats, but you don't get Ganesh. You are always at the you are always at the lowest level of Maslow's hierarchy of need. You cannot climb up, and you cannot embrace Ganapati or Ganesh. And this is a joke. Don't mind. You're always at the rat level. You're always at the floor level.
Sir, but
yes,
even after 70, 75
Sir,
years,
I want to ask.
why don't we
one
go
question
to
at a time,
Sanskrit?
please. Yeah.
Sir, I want to ask that, sir, how Germany is, sir, retrieving so much information about our Indian knowledge, and we are not able to retrieve that information if we have the books.
That is because of the British, half of the British, because the British in 225 years of civilization in India, Lord Macaulay, and then the father of Winston Churchill, K.K. Churchill, he was one of the viceroys of Eastern India, and he actually passed a law of not teaching Sanskrit in India and stop all education in vernacular language and stop all the vernacular text of India and instead bring the text of Western sciences and make English as the only language in the schools. And that is how the Indian education changed in 1905, 1910.
But sir, how those Germans got those Indian books? Like, sir, they would also have got some.
Yeah, the Germans had a pact with the British. And the Oxford, you're asking fantastic questions. I never thought I'll discuss all this. So the Germans had a pact. Let me answer this. You'll love this. So the Germans had a pact with the British, and the East India companies gave a lot of money. The East India Company had the highest GDP in 1900. Maximum trade surplus and propensity purchase power. So they funded Oxford University and invited Max Muller as a chair professor from Germany. So Max Muller, with a bunch of 20, 25 German scholars, went to London. And Swami Vivekananda met Max Muller not in Germany, in London, mind it. Because the German scholars, because the German scholars through the British, here is your answer, got the highest access. The British people said, chalo, aapko jo chahiye, batao, I'll give you. The German scholar said, you are already in control of India. You have already shunned and excommunicated the Indian books. So supply us all those Indian books. Wo to garbage hai na? So give us those garbage. Let us have a look at it. So the German scholars got an access to all.
Sir, should I interrupt for one moment?
Yes, say something, Aki. Let me have some.
Actually, you see, there was a relation, a direct relation between the British Empire and the German Empire. You have learned about Queen Victoria. So one of her daughters was the German Empress. So there was a very good relationship among both the countries.
They were actually very good. They were actually very good friends till the beginning of the First World War.
Yes.
Till the beginning of the First World War, because after that, with power and progress in science, the average Germanists, not all Germans were bad. They were also. The average German race became very arrogant, and then they wanted to take over the destiny of Europe. And that is the connection which went up to Subhash Bose. I think you all know that is why Subhash Bose wanted to walk up to Germany and meet Adolf Hitler. I think you all know that. And somebody said, why do you want to go and talk to a devil? who is like a devil. And Subhash Bose said that to free my country from the British, from a lesser devil, if I can manage a greater devil, because he's a devil who is expressed, he's evident. But the British are the lesser devil. They're a devil in disguise. They look very nice, but they're actually a lesser devil. And the Germans are greater devil. And the British are the devil's advocates, but the Germans are devil personified. So Subhash Bose said, I want to go and shake hands with the Germans. Actually, my whole intent is to go to Germany and see how powerful is Germany to fight the British. That was actually the whole objective was not to meet Hitler, but to look at Germany very closely. And then Subhash Bose found out that Hitler had very wrong plans, like attacking Russia, something which Napoleon did 100 years back. So Subhash Bose was waiting for a change in Axis power, and that's how he returned to Japan, and that's another complex story. But what Akidi said, the Anglo-German universities had the highest collaboration between 1890 and 1910, and that is how most of the Indian books were transmitted to Germany for decoding, and all those kind of things. And so our generation had no access. I mean, because the British wiped out almost 4 or 5 generations in India who never knew anything about the Vedas, never knew anything about the Upanishads. And the British slowly taught, and the Indians were convinced that if you want to advance English, today we are having the class, but we don't have a single national language, to talk. We can be in Hindi, we can have this entire, but not everybody will be uncomfortable. I'll be very uncomfortable because I cannot speak fluent Hindi, but I can speak Hindi, I can manage. So that means the British were successful. Yeah, I'm coming to you, RG. The British were successful to delink India's past and India's immediate present, and that is where I told you you go to the life of the father of Winston Churchill and his 9 years in India. You'll find all the answers. And he was absolutely a terrorist, and India had a concept of Pathshala. Dr. Harimohan Pillai can give you 10 lectures on that. All the Pathshalas in Indian cities were stopped. The tolls in Indian cities were stopped, including some in Varanasi. And instead, the schools and the institutions and the colleges were established by the British. But against that, the other groups of British people protested, like the Irish, Nivedita. And then the Americans came in, the Protestant missionary schools. They came in and they protested against the British. That is another story, because they're wonderful people from the West also, So it's not a one-track story. It's also not a one-track explanation. There's always a darker side, and there are also a lot of Indians on this side who became the bootlickers of the British to get favor from the British, and they are the helping people to stop the Indian institutions and the Indian type of colleges and the Pathshalas. Everybody knows the term Pathshala. The Gurukul system of education was absolutely cracked down and destroyed for a period of 175 years. So that is why we became westernized, anglicized.
Sir, can we get those books back? Like, can we get those
now the
knowledge
books
back?
are
And
already
what
back.
is the pathway for that? Perfect pathway.
Who actually got those books back? Can anyone tell me? I think Jeslu and Shivangi can tell me. He was Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo came back from England, so he had the access to the highest English literature. His English is even better than the Englishman. When Swami Vivekananda spoke at Chicago, some of the Americans says what English he speaks. Whatever he said is different. That's point number 2. But his English is brilliant. In the next day in Detroit Times, there was a whole article on Swami Vivekananda. He was compared to Jesus Christ, and there was a last paragraph on his English. He said, how come an Indian can speak English beautifully? There must be a connection. I mean, beautiful, elegant English with so much of richness and exuberance in words and absolute coverage. So Indians you cannot fool the Indians. Finally, they'll find a way. So Sri Aurobindo revived all the Vedas and the Upanishads, and he wrote some of the first books. And the other person was Sir John Woodruff. I think I showed you he was a British judge who came from London. So search John Woodruff, and he wrote the first books on Indian Tantra, not the Vedas, Vedas तो हम लोग का कुछ जान पहचान में है, Tantra का कुछ किसका जान पहचान है? We think Tantras are magic literature. Now put them in drains, in absolutely magic and bad literature. And John Woodruff was the disciple of Shib Chandra Biddarnath, who was the classmate of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. And in Calcutta's Foundation Day, both of them were given a title. So one was given Vidyasagar and the other was given Biddarnath. His disciple was Sir John Woodruff. And John Woodruff, under the Ganesh Press of Madras, so a lot of thanks goes to South Indian Press. Ganesh Press started converting and reviving these textbooks. So the first contributions to reviving these books came from the South. Who had sent Swami Vivekananda to the West? The people from the South. The people from the South. So South has a great contribution in the revival of Indian knowledge system. That doesn't mean the people from the North are bad. Akidi is good. I am good. We are all people from the North. But South में adulteration थोड़ा कम हुआ. Adulteration, desophistication थोड़ा कम हुआ.
I'd like to, sir, just add something. I read somewhere that Hitler had actually formed an entire part of an organization for research of all the ancient literature of India.
Is that Steven Spielberg has made a movie on that? I mean, Indiana Jones. What's his name? The great actor. Harrison Ford has acted in that movie. There's a whole movie on that. Adolf Hitler and Indiana Jones.
Yes.
See that movie. There's a whole movie on that.
Sir,
Steven Spielberg,
you said
one of the greatest directors of yeah.
Sir, you said the Swami Vivekananda to USA.
Swami Vivekananda to USA. So what is your question?
So I have studied the King of Khetri from Junjunu, Rajasthan.
King of Khetri actually sponsored him. He gave the money, but the zeal to send Swami Vivekananda to the US was mainly by the South Indian people. So when Swamiji came back from the West after 2 years, 9 months or something like that, he first came to the South and gave his first lecture at Colombo in the South, and then he went up north. And some of his first disciples were also from the South. Yeah, there's a different story. I don't want to get into that because that will make us personal. We'll get into a single personality.
So you said that because of Britishers we don't have that Sanskrit or our Indian.
That's a strange statement which I made. Because of Britishers we didn't have Sanskrit, but because of Britishers we had Sanskrit. Because of a certain kind of Britishers who were imperial Britishers, the education was disrupted, and because of certain kind of other Britishers like Sister Nivedita, like John Woodruff, we could revive Sanskrit. So it's not that the entire British
75 years almost that Britishers are gone. Why are we not bringing back our?
We are bringing back. That's why we have a center of excellence at IKS at IIT Kharagpur.
But it's been 75 years. Germans are still.
लगता है ना. I mean, how much time you take to make up a business? बताओ भाई, ये कौन है भाई? This is a wonderful question.
Sir, at least 5 years we will
at
have
least
to
5 years to make
business.
a business. And एक business बनाने में 5 से 10 साल लगते हैं. और ये तो बहुत बड़ा business है ना. It's almost like building up, rebuilding up. It will take about 70 to 100 years.
But we already know that Germans are doing some great work using Sanskrit. So
I never knew it when I went to the US. When I went to the US to do my masters at Iowa State, do you know where I fell in love with Indian knowledge system? It happened in US. One of my American professor presented me with this book called The Tao of Physics. No Indians presented me with that book because the appreciation of India was highest in the West. And some of my American professors says, you have a zeal for this, you pursue, one day I think you'll make it. And they gave me one day in the evening, they gave me a forum to speak. Today I know 1/10 of the thing, and 30 years back I knew about 1/100th of the thing. So with all those shallow little knowledge, Haat Pa Narake, I gave a lecture in the lobby of the College of Design. And then one of my Dean of Dean, the provost, Dr. Richard Van Eyten. By the way, he was a German, and his wife was the classmate of Richard Richard.
Algo.
No, আমাদের India স্বাধীনতার যে সাহেব, Mountbatten, Lady Mountbatten. They were in the same college. So I want to make that story. It's a personal story. So he came and saw my lecture. There were about 250 people in an atrium. Everybody was coming like Moli, picking up the coffee and donuts. You know, a lot of people used to attend sessions in the evening because घर तो थोड़ा जाने में देरी हो गया. चलो College of Design में चलो, उधर में कुछ बक कोई आदमी कर रहा है, एक डोनट पिकअप करके पीछे में बैठ जाएंगे. उसके बाद में कॉलेज ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में चलो, उधर में कोई लेक्चर है, उधर में फिर एक कप ऑफ कॉफी, एक केक और डोनट भी पिकअप कर लेंगे. सो दिस इज अ डोनट जर्नी, एंड इन दैट प्रोसेस you pick up some ideas. So there was one guy about 25 years old, hath pa narake, he was talking about Indian civilization. This is a Bengali way of telling Hindi, moving his hands and legs. And then in that crowd, I saw there are some, suited, booted people sitting in the last. And the next day in my locker, I found a note that from the Beardshire Hall, from the School of Admission, you kindly contact, you are supposed to meet Dr. Richard Van Eyten. And then my secretary said, Joy, kuch gadbad to nahi kiya hai? And I became cold, temperature went down to 94 or 93 or something like that. And then I contacted Beardshire Hall, and then the secretary there said, Joy, don't be worried. Dr. Van Eyten was there in a lecture that you're giving and he liked it. He wants to meet you. Just wait for 15 minutes and he'll call you. But he called me within 5 minutes and he just got up. It was a huge room. The size of the room was something like 2,000 square feet, that entire room. He's like the provost. He was like the dean of 7 or 8 American universities. The provost is a senator and he has the power to access American education. So Dr. Van Eyten. And we had a quick chat about 10-15 minutes. He said, Joy, there's something which is very interesting. So if you are free this weekend, why don't you come to my house? So मेरा तो कुछ नहीं था ना, मेरा कोई गाड़ी नहीं था, कुछ नहीं था, साइकिल भी नहीं था, because my College of Design, like Akidi, I was always walking in the campus. So Dr. Van Eyten had sent me a limo kind of a thing. Then घूम के I went to the end of Ames, my campus, and there I saw a huge bungalow. It could be something like 20,000 square feet area and all that. And there I saw a lady coming out and greeting me, Joy, come on and come on. And then I was in the house till about 1 p.m. having dinner and discussing with them. And then they asked me that, how come you know some of these things? I said, I read some books of Radhakrishnan Aurobindo. They're not satisfied. Then I told them I read some book of Vivekananda. And they knew most of the things. They were not satisfied. Then I told them some of my school teachers, they were half satisfied. And finally they said there must be something who has actually changed your life. Then something struck my mind. Then I told that some of these things I heard it from my grandmother. She was an illiterate person who got married at the age of 14 or 15, didn't have a PhD, nor a master's, nor a bachelor's degree, not even a school education, but he had a great heart. And she taught me Bengali and she taught me how to see and connect between things and all that. And then Dr. Van Eyten got up from his seat and told me, this is the answer that I was looking for. She is your teacher. One day you have to come again and talk about her. Today it's already 12 o'clock in the night. Let's have your dinner. So dinner, khate hum log baat kiya. That is the beginning of Indian knowledge systems in 1988. I think we should stop here. It's already 8:15. This personal story will go on. I hope you're not getting bored. I hope you're not getting bored. Yeah. So this is how, so my love for Indian knowledge system was implanted by Americans. So I'm indebted to that great country of Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, Dr. Richard Van Eyten, and other great people like Dr. Sthapatya, who has written this book, The Tao of Physics, which has sold more than 12 million copies around the world. Get that book, read that book, which compares Indian metaphysics with Western quantum sciences. If you have not read that book, probably you have missed the world of IKS. And this book was written in 1985. Mind it. Okay, so I think we should draw a line. Otherwise, Akidi is like my mother. She's going to give me a jhapper. And will say, sir, you're making us mad. You're going up to 9 o'clock. And aisa to nahi chalega bhai. But it's so nice to have you all on a foundation day. And I hope I made some sense. Did I make some sense at least? 10%, 15%? Hello?
Yes.
I hope I made some.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, you made all sense.
Yeah. I hope I made some sense. And okay, one last question. That's it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, sir, I wanted to know if in this department there would be any people.
There would be what?
Guru. There would be any people as faculty from our Indian Guru Parampara.
Yeah. There'll be faculties who are both ancient and modern. They won't be faculties from ashrams. They also won't be faculties from MIT, but there'll be faculties who has some properties of people at MIT and some properties of people in Haridwar and some other properties also. So they are balanced people, They like the best of both the worlds and they also dislike the worst of both the worlds. That's very important. You have to be scientific. You cannot say everything in India in the past is great. You cannot also say everything that has come from the West is great. You can only say some of the great things have come from India. Some of the great things have come from the West. We need a synthesis. An Indian knowledge system will amalgamate and reinforce that synthesis. That is a scientific approach. So we should be very balanced. We are not having a nostalgia in this center of excellence. We are having the celebration of the future with the tradition of the past. So that diagram that I showed you, if you have an intercept, then the linear programming has a higher growth. But if y is equal to only xb, then the growth is only partial. If you have an intercept, then y has some value independent of x, because at the intercept value, the y is actually an independent variable. After that, it becomes a dependent variable. So that intercept portion of the curve is your traditional knowledge system, and the rest of the curve is modern knowledge system. So sum total of traditional knowledge system and modern knowledge system is Indian knowledge system, like Swami Vivekananda, like Meghnad Shah, like Sir J.C. Bose, like C.V. Raman. That is.
Sir, if such faculty is possible.
You will be one faculty after 10 or 15 years.
Yes, sir, sure. But I wanted to know if such faculty from our Indian Guru Parampara system, which
they will come. There's Swami, for example, I know Swami Sarvapriyanandaji from Ramakrishna Mission. He's a physicist and he's also a monk. I'm just giving an example. That doesn't mean that I have to get some people from Ramakrishna Mission.
Yes, sir, I understand.
But I also need a professor who is from MIT and he's also a member of a spiritual organization. I also need a person like that. So he's a scientist. He has not joined a monk order, but he goes to a monk order occasionally. But he remains at MIT or IIT or at Imperial College of Science and Technology. So we need balances. Balance is a very important thing in life. You cannot over criticize or under criticize something. You should always optimally appreciate things, and to achieve at the optimal appreciation, you should see the maximas and the minimas of a wave function. So this experience of the course will show you the maximas and the minimas, so that you become a scientifically wonderful person. You won't be perturbed by small things then. After living philosophy bhi jordar ho jayega. Nobody will commit suicide. Nobody will get into drugs. Because your philosophy expands. You have the ability to embrace the people of the world. Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Truly, not by giving a lecture in a Vasudeva Kutumbakam, you go and give a lecture. It becomes a living breath of your life. Even a French is your brother. Even a Russian is your brother. Even a pygmy in Africa is your brother. If you are truly a global citizen, every citizen of humanity is your brother. Even a Mohammedan is a brother of a Hindu. Even a Christian is the brother of a Baptist. Listen to that song by Lobo, the Universal Soldier. Universal Soldier by Lobo. Look at the lyrics. So you have to listen to songs, you have to see movies, you have to read books, you have to fall in love with a girl or a boy. You have to be balanced. Otherwise, Indian knowledge system nahi hoga. Kutch
Yes, sir.
Devjani.
I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure
because
that there is a balance.
one of the greatest books of Indian knowledge system is from Kutch Devjani Sanbad. You know, Kutch got half of the knowledge from Brihaspati, and he thought he was Purna Brahmagyani. Then Kutch told him, Brihaspati told Kutch, you have only got half of the knowledge. You have to go to the other half, the Ashuras, Shukracharya, to Persia and all those places, and you have to know that side. So then he went and got the other knowledge, the other side of the knowledge. And Devjani, his daughter, fell in love with Kutch, and there's a big story. So the Purna Brahmagyan is the knowledge of Suras plus Asuras. That is India. And that is a love story. That is a love story. Okay. That is a love story. So love is also very important. If you are not a man of love, nobody will listen to you. You have to embrace people in your life. You have to help your juniors as the seniors have helped you. So that is parampara of IIT Kharagpur, IIT Kanpur, NIT Rourkela, NIT Calicut, from where Professor Bhattacharya has come from into IIT Kharagpur. So every good school has that parampara. Seniors, juniors, seniors, juniors. Chalo, I think let's end here. Thank you so much. Happy Foundation Day.
Happy Foundation. Yeah.
আমি কি করে সকলকে
Thank
মিউট
you,
করতে
sir.
হয় আমি শিখে গেছি আখিদি এভরিথিং ইজ শঙ্খ হ্যাঁ সব ঠিক আছে তো আই হোপ ঠিক আছে সরি হ্যাঁ অর্জুনের খবরটা পেলাম না অর্জুনের আচ্ছা ওই অর্জুনের খবর পরে আলোচনা হবে ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে আকি আর কিছু বলবে বলো আকি কিছু বলবে
No, sir, thank you for the wonderful lecture. And I think the students must be knowing, but this is a day when Professor Joy Sen has won one of its many accolades that he has won till this far, and he will going to get further in future. So thank you for the Faculty Excellence Award.
I am a student of IIT Kharagpur. That is my only acquaintance. There's no other acquaintance. I'm just a senior person to you. I'm still a student. I want to leave this body as a student and come back again to IIT Kharagpur as a student after 30-40 years. So that will make IIT Kharagpur survive till I come back.
So
Chalo, good night. Shivangi, good night. Jeslu, good night. I don't know who is around.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so kind of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
So next week, Akhidi will say a few things. I will follow. Akhidi and I will take some classes. Okay.
So, this is Jai
I
Krishna,
had a
sir.
last question, if you allow.
Last
Hello?
question. Arey bapre.
Yes,
Bolo
sir.
bhai.
One more. The question was, you talked about physicist is also a great musician, and a musician is also a great physicist. So somehow my question is, can a knowledge system be completely manifestation of a different knowledge system? In line to that question is, why are we talking about Indian knowledge system in particular? Why aren't we talking about very inclusive term, something called ancient knowledge system?
Yeah, because
it is a manifestation. One knowledge is a manifestation of another knowledge.
Yeah, you're true. You're right. In India, there is a very ancient past to a medieval past when we don't have other knowledge systems in the world. I mean, Greece started only from 600 BC. Before that, there are hardly any knowledge system. But in India, we have knowledge systems which can be traced back to 1000 BC, 2000 BC, 3000 BC, and or even earlier. So those things I'll discuss later. So that's why it is very important to see the Indian portions of the knowledge systems. That's why Indian knowledge systems. And what is a better thing to do where some of the Indians are interested to do that? It is not that everybody has to do IKS, but some interested people like you will do IKS. That's it. Everybody doesn't have to do everything. That's not required here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll answer your question even more later in later classes. I answered it in a certain angle only. A question can be answered from 2-3 different angles. Today I just answered you from a certain angle, because otherwise I'll take up another 15-20 minutes and सब लोग मेरा ऊपर चोट पाट कर लेंगे, ठीक है? Already it's 8:30. चलो, good night. Good night.
Good
Bye.
night,
Good night, sir.
Good night. Good night.
Good
Take
night,
care.
sir.
Have
Good
a
night,
nice
sir.
dinner. Have a nice dinner. Yeah. Bye.
Sir?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, this is Jay Krishna. I just want to mention one thing. Like, I'll be sending out an invite for the Google groups in the same thread.
Yeah.
I was also thinking it would be great if we can make a new channel in Teams and post it over there, because we'll have all things at one place.
Yeah, I think next class we'll do that. I'll discuss this with Shankhu sir and Aki madam. We'll
Sure,
do
sir.
that. Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
sir. Yeah.
And we'll have a special Google Drive also to post some of them.
Yes,
So
sir.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
we'll do all of that in the next 15 days, 7 days plus 7 days. You know.
Sure, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean,
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
not
Thank
very
you, sir.
good at all those things. So I'll involve some of my younger people to do that. Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you,
Calling
sir.
it a day. Good night. Bye. Shubharatri. Okay. Bye. I'm ending the meeting. I'm ending the meeting. So the moment I click end button, everyone will be disconnected. Okay. Take care. Okay. Okay. Bye. Good night.